Hello children, you all missed classes due to the coronavirus things. So I'm trying to use this online platform to engage with you, and I teach you more lessons so you can use this and learn from home also. So first lesson, geography. First lesson I already started in the class week back. Resource and development, and I am going to teach this lesson now. So resources and development. I already started in this class and I almost completed half of the lessons. So I just give a very quick recall the half of the lesson, then I will go and explain more the remaining part. So what is resource? The resource, I told you in the class, the many things are available in the earth, but only the human utilize using it and to satisfy their needs. That's very important. Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, then only you can call it as resource. And the resource can be fulfill three important things, which technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable can be termed as resource. Next, the classification of resources. I told you natural resource and human resource. I don't want to much go into that. I skip this. Then on the basis of origin, we have seen two already: biotic resource and abiotic resource. Living things are called biotic resource, and abiotics, non-living things are called abiotic resource. You see the example: biotic resource example, flora, fauna, fisheries and livestock, etc. And abiotic resource, rocks and metals. On the basis of exhaustibility, we have seen two: renewable resource and non-renewable resource. Renewable resource, I told you that's very important keywords. It can be reproduced, refill, replenish. That's a very important. And those are called renewable resource. Examples: water, wind energy, solar energy, forest, wildlife. These are, it can be reproduced, and water can be refilled and replenished. So these are the example of renewable resource. And non-renewable resource, which takes millions of years to form. What are things? The oil, petrol, fossil fuels, all, like, it take millions years to form. Today we using the petrol and the coal and the natural gas. These are, when the earth formed, it could be formed. So it took millions years to form. Okay, next, on the basis of ownership. On the basis of ownership, we have seen four: individual resource, community owned resource, national resource, and international resource. Individual resource, we have seen that the individual owning the resource, which is house, farmland, house, company. So these are individual resource. And community owned resource, public park, picnic spots. These are, we have seen, like, which the community people, like many people can go and visit and come back, which is community owned resource. And the natural resource, technically you see, like, the all the resource which is available within the territory of the country, which is technically national resource. Examples: forest, water, or national resource. And international resource, the 200 nautical miles of exclusive economic zone in the oceans, which is called international resource. The international resource, which controlled by the United Nations International Organization, which can give it to the country which is least uh, available resource for the from the ocean beds. India also got permission to access the Indian Ocean. I told you in the class. Okay, next we can. So I don't want to go deep. I'm just making you recall everything. On the basis of states of development, we have seen potential resource, developed resource, stock, reserves. First, potential resource which are found in region have not been utilized, which is available but we are not using it. Like solar energy, we have potential of making everything solar energy, but we are not utilizing it. We have, and quantity and quality we are using it. Example, coal and petrol. And stock which we don't have technology to use it. Like example, like H2O, we all know, like two molecules of hydrogen plus oxygen combined together, which is water, H2O. But we don't have technology to combine these components, hydrogen and oxygen, so we cannot produce like that. So these are called stock resource. And next, reserves, which we know, like, but we are keeping it for the future need. Like example, like I told you the class, the petrol reserves in Alaska, which the US keeping it for the future need. And we can call forests and dams which we may use in coming days for our needs. Next, development of resource. I told you, like once we categorize, classify the resource, and we started develop the resource very late period of 14th and 15th century, and we are excessive of using more resources, which led to many problems in the earth. I told you that three important: the depletion of resource for satisfying the greed of few individuals, the resource which is not, which the resource which is available in the earth, which is for all the people, but what happened over a period of time, only few people are access to the resource and many people doesn't access to the resource, which led to the inequality in the society. And the second point also same, the accumulation of resource in few hands, which divide the society into rich and poor. And indiscriminate exploitation of resource has led to the global ecological crisis. Like we using resource indiscriminately, which led to the global warming, ozone layer depletion, and other environmental pollution and other land degradation and damages. Okay, next. So if we are going to continue this kind of resource exploitation, developing the resource in the name of developing resource, we are exploiting the resource. So what could be the alternative? The sustainable development is the only alternative we've found till now. The sustainable development, what it means? Without damaging the environment, and should not compromise with the needs of the future generation. These are the two important key points. I already told you in the class, these are the two important key points you have to write in the exams. Okay, next. The resource planning in India. Resource planning, I told you resource planning is very, very important when we are developing resource, and which is for everyone, but the resource is unequally distributed. It's not equally distributed in all the regions. Unequally distributed. Some places you get more, some places you will not get anything. So here we should have the plan, and we should the resource I told you, which is formed takes millions of years to form. So we have to use it in the judicial way, which is we can preserve for the future generation. So that's where the resource planning is very, very, very important. And resource planning in India can be seen in three ways. First, identification and inventory of resource. across the region of the country. We already done surveying, mapping, quality and quantity, which is available in our um, in our country. And evolving planning structure, like what are the technology, science and skill labor institution we need. That's the second. And third one, the matching the resource development, like how much we are spending the resource. Taking out resource is like investment. If we are investing, we need to find out the more profit. So this is where the overall development of the country is uh, important. So when we invest, we get those source. Out of that, the benefits, profit, we can provide the population free education and free health and other things. Okay, children, we have to start from here. Before the resource classification and everything we have seen in the class, land resource we haven't started it, so I'm going to start now. Land resource. In this lesson, we land and soil resource we're going to see. First, we see the land resource. Land resource is a natural resource, utmost important. It's a very 3-mark or 5-mark questions. Why it's utmost importance to human beings, or not only human, even all the living things which is living in the land. So it's very important. It supports natural vegetation, wildlife, human life, economic activities, transport and communication system. It's very important. You can write for 3 or 5 mark. And land is a present, is a limited size, so we must use them effectively. We all know, like today the more land degradation happening and deforestation and many things which is against the environment, and we polluting lots, so we must use the land resource effectively. We see next. So land resource in India classified into majorly forest land, plains and plateaus. The 43% of land area in India is plain, which is used for agriculture and other industries purpose, and 30% of the land which are mountains, which is perennial flowing rivers, and which is very important for ecological balancing, and 27% of the land which is plateau, which are contains more minerals, fossil fuels and forest. Okay, next. You see the India map where plateaus are available, like you can see Central Highlands, Deccan Plateau, and you see the Gangetic Plains where agriculture more, and you can see the plateaus were more rich of minerals, and Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats where the mountain, which river flows from there. Okay, next. The land use pattern in India is very important. First, the forest land, which we are not touching it, because the forest land which the wildlife and the other vegetations are very important for the ecological balance. We are not touching it. And the land not available for cultivations. The land not available for cultivations are barren and wasteland, which we use, which we cannot use for agriculture because lack of water, and the soil is not fertile to do the agriculture, and but we can use it for constructing buildings, houses and transport and factories, roads. These are the things we can use. And next, other cultivated lands. Other cultivated lands which we use only for grazing lands, the livestock grazing permanent pastures and grazing lands. And you see, like in the roadsides, many trees which we are not which is naturally grown, we are not touching it. Those are tree crops and groves. Culturable wasteland, which the land was used for cultivating once upon a time, and which not cultivated more than 5 years, which not cultivated, which is called culturable wasteland. And fourth one is fallow lands. Fallow lands are can be divided into two: current fallow land and the other than fallow land. The current fallow land, which is using cultivating, which not cultivated for one agriculture year, which agriculture year is, it could be 3 months crops, it could be 6 months period, it could be 1 year. So the current fallow land which we are currently cultivating, which we are not cultivating for 6 months or less than 1 year. And other than fallow land, which the land which we are cultivating, which not cultivated less than 5 years. If it goes more than 5 years, which is called culturable wasteland. So you should understand the difference between the other than fallow land and culturable wasteland. The other than fallow land, which cultivated and which not cultivated for less than 5 years, and culturable wasteland, which cultivated once and which not cultivated more than 5 years. And last one is net zone area. Net zone area is currently cultivating, like producing crops, which are called net zone area. The cross crop area is very important. One mark many times as the fallow land, which is currently cultivate fallow lands, which is we cultivating currently using it, or like we just given 6 months or 1 year period to the soil to get more fertile. Those fallow land plus net zone area presently we are cultivating, producing, is equal to cross crop area. Is it clear? Okay, next. This is very important: land degradation and conservation measures. Very important 5 more questions. Human activity. What makes the land more degrade? The human activities such as deforestation, overgrazing, mining, quarrying, industrial waste, which are contribute to land degradation. And how we can control this land degradation? First, we plant more, like afforestation and planting of shelter belts of plants. We take the planting the trees on the same line, so it can be stabilize the soil erosion, land, and control on overgrazing, like the livestock's controlling the overgrazing, stabilization of sand dunes, growing prone is in the desert, like a wind blows, it take the soil from one place to another place. So we can stop by planting thorny bushes, proper management of waste land, and control of mining activities, and controlling of industrial waste. Before industrial waste mixing into land or water, we treat them and reduce the harm in that waste, industrial waste. So in this way we can conserve the land.